Welcome to the University of Kent for this evening's In Conversation. I wanted to let you know that by buying a ticket tonight, you have contributed to the Kent Opportunity Fund, which offers scholarships, bursaries and grants for student-led projects. In 2015, I was the Vice President of the Sailing and the Windsurfing Club, and we were granted some money from the Kent Opportunity Fund to run a sailing challenge. We sailed from Kent along the south coast to Poole, the home of the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, and stopped at 7 lifeboat stations along the way. Not only did we raise £4,000 for the RNLI, but we also gained invaluable skills in events and logistic planning and sailing. So on behalf of Kent students, thank you. It gives me great pleasure to welcome to the stage Gavin Esler, our Chancellor, and his special guest, Sandi Toksvig OBE.
Hello.
The great thing about this lighting is we can't actually see anybody out there. So
I'm taking it on trust there's somebody out there.
Is that recorded laughter?
Yeah.
Welcome. It's very good to see so many people here tonight. And welcome to In Conversation. My guest tonight, as you know, is known throughout the land as a serial underachiever. She took a first-class honours degree at Cambridge, then pursued a career as a writer, broadcaster, actor, performer, comedian, playwright, novelist, TV and radio presenter, filmmaker, Chancellor of the University of Portsmouth, and founder of the Women's Equality Party. In her spare time, she cooks, weaves canoes, and this, to me, was a real clue to her personality. On desert island discs, she chose as her luxury item an endless supply of the Daily Mail.
At some point on an island, you're going to have to go to the loo. I'm possibly the only person on Desert Island Discs who talked about weeing on the island, which I think is a critical thing.
Now, I'm going to pick comedian out of this, just because it seems more appropriate. The one thing I wondered was, how do you compete with Donald Trump in real life?
The thing is, satire is now officially dead, isn't it? There's a really high chance. In fact, I think he is going to get in. I'm so terrified that he's going to get in. And you listen to him talking about being braggadocious, and you just think, wow, okay. In fact, they've turned it into a very good song. I don't know, you know the song from Sound of Music? No, Mary Poppins, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, you know that one? There's now one with Trump saying braggadocious, which is really good. Have a look online. It's scary, isn't it? I'm glad I gave up doing the news quiz on Radio 4, because there's no jokes left. He just does them all by himself. And then people go, yeah, we want him. Wow, okay.
Well, we'll have 4 years of it, perhaps, or 8 years of it.
8. Right. He may change the law. We could have 12. But, hey.
But it is, I mean, you're observational, you observe for your comedy, and it is very difficult when some of that or some of our own dear politicians are actually funnier than anything that you can dream up, in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, watching Michael Gove and Boris Johnson summarily stab each other the morning after the referendum was one of them, and then swim away as fast as their blood loss would allow. It was one of the more entertaining things I've seen.
I quite like the fact that during the campaign, Boris Johnson told us that we were going to be swamped by all the people from Turkey who were going to come here, and he also wrote a very entertaining limerick about the Turkish president. And
shagging a goat, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was, actually. It's something that rhymed with Ankara. I can't remember exactly what it was. But the interesting thing about that was he was meeting the man last week in his capacity as Her Majesty's Plenipotentiary for Foreign and Commonwealth Affairs.
He was, but the only thing he could think to ingratiate himself with the Turkish people was to say, we've got a Turkish washing machine, you know. And this worried me enormously, because we've got a washing machine, I have no idea of its nationality. So I don't know how he knew that.
I think he was referring to a person rather than an appointment.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Very nice woman.
I don't remember her name. Now, I've got a few questions from people have tweeted, but before we get to that, you're actually a product of the BBC, aren't you? Because your parents met in the BBC.
Yeah, my mother is an extraordinary woman, but she was extraordinary for her time. She wanted to work at the BBC, but she didn't want to be a secretary. She wanted to be a studio announcer, and that was unheard of. It just didn't happen. But she did. She succeeded in doing this in the early 1950s. And my father was working for Danish radio, which had just sort of begun as a national service. And they thought they needed to train him, and the best place to do that was to send him to what I think is still the benchmark of broadcasting in the world. And they sent him to Bush House in London, which was then the big sort of centre of international broadcasting for the BBC. And my mother sat one side of the glass, and my father was on the other side, and he broadcast to Denmark, and she put him on the air, and I don't know what happened. Maybe the glass misted up. I don't really want to know. So yeah, I often think if you cut me like a stick of rock, I'd have BBC written all the way through me.
How Danish are you?
Well, I have that written in blue up one side of my body. I was born next to the Carlsberg Brewery in Copenhagen. That's quite Danish, isn't
Danish.
it? That is, there's a faint whiff of hops about me.
You fit perfectly in Kent, I would say.
Yeah, that's probably why I love Kent so much. I have a dual nationality, but I only became a British citizen 2 years ago. I was always entitled, but I never got around to it.
So Brexit means we can't get rid of you then?
Yes. Not quite the friendly chat I was hoping for. I belong now, but I still feel strongly. I'm strongly European, and I feel strongly about my Danish roots. I was just there last week, and speaking Danish again and eating Danish food always makes me feel good. It's very much part of my DNA.
I was told to ask you by Francesca Simon, who's an old friend of mine, the children's author. She said, just ask her about some Danish marzipan buffet. What's that about?
Well, there are certain things that are unique to Denmark. And when Hans Christian Andersen, he didn't celebrate his 200th birthday. He was dead, obviously. But when his birthday was celebrated, the Danish government appointed a number of international ambassadors, and I was very lucky to be made an ambassador, and they had a ceremony here at the British Library to mark the occasion. And we were an eclectic mix, let's just say that, we international ambassadors. And a friend was meeting me at the British Library, we were going to lunch afterwards, and had the very strange experience of asking a security guard, have you seen Sandi Toksvig? And he said, yes, she's over there between Roger Moore and the Prince of Denmark. And, and indeed I was. And we went over a big celebration in Denmark and in Odense, which is the hometown of Hans Christian Andersen. We were invited to have a lunch, a buffet with Her Majesty the Queen of Denmark. And it turned out, for reasons I can't fathom, that the entire buffet was made of marzipan. The Danes like marzipan, but this was really going a bit mad. So it was food that looked like food, but all, in fact, when you ate into any of it, it was all actually marzipan. So you'd think, oh, sausage roll. No, my mistake, marzipan. And I thought this was enormously funny. And then I saw Her Majesty the Queen arrive, and she's unbelievably tall. I mean, basketball-playing tall. She's really a tall woman. And I didn't think she'd seen me, so my friend, Helena Kennedy, Baroness Kennedy, who's one of the great human rights lawyers, was also an international judge, and I said to her, get a picture of me with the Queen and the buffet. So I'm standing like this, smiling for the camera, and the buffet and Her Majesty, who's trying to sausage roll and going, what the hell is that? They're standing behind me, and I'm smiling like this, going like that. Helena's going... And Her Majesty the Queen was leaning over me like this. And I had forgotten, she was a great friend of my father's. And so she said, Sandi Toksvig, isn't it? And I went, hello. So I got a very bad photo of a bit of me and Her Majesty the Queen with a marzipan sausage roll. It was one of the weirder experiences of my life.
That is quite a weird... Denmark is the happiest country in the world.
It is true.
And Britain is the 23rd happiest country in the world.
Come on, people! And do you know how we do that?
I eat a lot of marzipan.
No,
we
have a nation where people are as equal as it's possible to be in the world. And without equality, society is never going to be happy.
We'll get on to the Women's Equality Party in a moment. But before that's interesting. And Danish people have an interesting attitude to paying taxes towards it, which isn't the Donald Trump attitude, is it? That,
No.
not paying taxes
Here's
is
the
smart.
thing. Here's the thing that we believe that you live in society, you use things in society. I remember being in Copenhagen about 3 years ago. I became extremely. It was a Saturday night. I became extremely ill. As it happens, I had kidney stones, but I didn't know what it was, and I was in appalling pain. But I couldn't ring an ambulance because it's too much attention-seeking. So I went in a taxi to the main hospital in Copenhagen. Saturday night, you imagine a main hospital anywhere in the UK, be teeming. The place was empty. I thought I'd come to the wrong place, okay? The waiting room only had one chair in it, and that's because they didn't need any more. There was, in a small room, a man who was clearly dying, and there was me, okay? And I said, once they'd sorted me out and gave me morphine, which I totally recommend, once they sorted me out, I said to the woman, where are all the drunks? I said, it's Saturday night in a capital city. And do you know what she said? If you are drunk, you should go home. And I thought, too bloody right. And it's that thing that they're happy to pay. We have the lowest infant mortality rate in the world, the highest cancer surviving rates. We don't have old people who die of hypothermia or loneliness. The average working week is 35 hours a week. And people are happy to pay their taxes because they have a nice life and they see it. You know, we all use the hospitals, we all drive on the roads, we all want kids to have a good education. I have no problem with paying high taxes. I think you get your money's worth. I do not want to see kids at this university saddled with debt for the rest of their lives. I don't. I'm happy to pay.
There might be another round of applause for that. Actually, as I mentioned, Sandi's also Chancellor of the University of Portsmouth, and I don't know whether this was aimed at me. Where is it? Yes. How much time do you think university chancellors should devote to the university?
Should be here every bloody day, Gavin. You are a very dedicated chancellor, I know that. I've met you here on several occasions. I don't do things lightly, so there are chancellors, and no disrespect to them, who turn up once a year and shake some hands and then they go away again. I'm not that kind of person. I try to go down every 6 weeks or so, go around a different department, get to know the students, and see myself as hopefully some kind of conduit for students or members of staff to talk to me about something they feel maybe they can't talk to somebody else about. I love it. This is my 5th year at Portsmouth, and this will be my last year. I said I would do a 5-year term, and have loved it. And we've discovered really simple and straightforward things. There were some issues about certain students, certain groupings of students not joining societies, and we couldn't work out why. And then we discovered that almost all of those societies were meeting in a pub, and those particular groups did not want to meet where there was alcohol. So we instituted an idea that every society tries to have at least one meeting a month where no alcohol is served, and they saw an increase in their membership. So it's just those things, having a look and seeing what we can do to try and improve it. I love it. I love having to do with the young people, and I love trying to see if we can't make sure that university isn't just about the job you're going to get, but is sometimes education for its own sake. That's not the way everybody sees it, because there is a view that universities need to measure the value of research. And by value, I mean the monetary value of research. And I was saying to you before we came in, what is the value of discovering the Higgs boson? Nobody can make any money out of it. No, or being a great poet, or you know. I think exploring the mind is the most wonderful thing. And sometimes you don't know why you've learnt something until 20, 30, 40 years later, and you think, I remember that thing. Actually, some of it's useless. Okay, some of it is useless. When I was at school, I learned about Oxbow Lakes. Do you remember this? Remember Oxbow Lakes, right? There were these weird lakes that got left behind when rivers couldn't be asked anymore. They kind of... Remember that? I was on a train, seriously, I was on a first-class train the other day, and I suddenly stood up on my seat and went, look, Oxbow Lake! I'd never seen one. I read about it at school. I got really overexcited. It was a quiet carriage. It wasn't popular. But I think it's okay to foster an atmosphere in universities where we say to people, please just learn for its own sake. Because expanding your mind is a wonderful thing, and sometimes you expand your mind in a direction you hadn't expected, and actually what you do is you make the the happy accidental discovery. And we need those because that's how science, that's how penicillin was discovered. It was an accidental discovery. Fleming couldn't be asked to wash up. But I love that. I love that those accidents happen and they're critical.
I'm going to throw it open to questions in a moment, so I'm sure there'll be plenty of those. But how do you fit it all in? Because I should say, this is secrets of the green room. When I arrived, she's finishing off a novel, which she's got to have finished by Friday because she's casting a play on Saturday.
Can I just say I was writing the novel, I wasn't reading it. I'm not that challenged about reading, okay? It's totally fine. Yeah, I've got a lot on.
You have a lot on.
Yeah, but it's exciting and opportunities come up. I'm going next week, to San Francisco to give a TED talk. And suddenly find myself involved with TED.com. Hi, Sandi, it's TED.com here. And I said, no, really, you can't be a brand. You have to be a person. I don't know what that's about. But it's 40 women from around the world gathering for a conference.
Leaning in.
We're all leaning in, apparently. That is also the thing. I'm learning to use the proper jargon. Sandi, it's really important you lean in while you're with us. I would certainly do that. Note to self, wear sturdy bra.
The Queen of Denmark leaned in. I mean, look what it did for her.
I know. I do have a very odd life. I woke up one morning. Actually, my poor partner. It's really not an easy life. Okay, we have one of those alarms where the radio comes on, and I one morning woken up, and just at the moment that Radio 4 was running a trail for something I was on, and it was my voice. And my wife said to me, I don't know how you're doing that, but shut the fuck up! Anyway, it is a very odd life because I was reading my emails and she said, who's that from? I said, it's from the Prime Minister of Iceland. And she went, oh, of course it is. Anyway, we found ourselves going to stay with the Prime Minister of Iceland, who's charming. Do you remember Johanna Sigurðardóttir, the woman who became Prime Minister when nobody else wanted to, because it was so bad. It was so bad, they thought, we'll have a woman. A bit like now. Oh, please, have you not heard of the glass cliff? So we're staying with, she's charming, Johanna, and we were staying in their equivalent of Chequers, right? And so there was Johanna and her partner and me and my partner, and the Prime Minister's showing us up to bed, which is quite odd anyway. And you're thinking, oh, did I bring good pajamas, And she said, here's the bathroom, and here's a towel, and if you're cold, here's a blanket. In the night, by the way, she said, just as she's leaving, don't touch the red button because the SAS will come. I'm thinking, don't touch the red button. And you know how you want to go to the loo and it's a weird house and you don't know it. You think, where the hell is the red button? Well, so it's an odd life. I do.
That is an odd life. Well, that leads us on nicely. There's another question here about the Women's Equality Party and your political activism. Now, I mean, Scandinavian countries have had women prime ministers for years and leaders and a degree of equality, which is what you talked about. We may have Hillary Clinton, we have Angela Merkel and so on. So what is the point of a new political party in our political system that's called the Women's Equality Party?
Well, it's really interesting when you look at it. So we have a female prime minister. We challenged her within 100 days in office to please do just one thing that was good for women, just like anything at all. And I think we're about 80 days in. So far, not so much. And that's because she's busy cleaning up the mess that the boys made. And even if you include the Scandinavian countries who've done so much to be egalitarian, what are we, 196 countries in the world, there isn't actually one in the whole world where there is full equality. There isn't a single country where there isn't still a gender pay gap. There isn't a single one where men and women actually stand shoulder to shoulder. And what happened was I kept shouting at the telly and I kept shouting at various people, and in the end I thought, this is hopeless. We don't need a feminist movement, we need a political party. And when our candidate, Sophie Walker, stood for the London mayoral elections, we went to the very first hustings. She was 7th to speak out of 7. By the time she spoke, not one single candidate had mentioned the position of women, 51% of the population in London. the huge issues about childcare, about safety on the tube, about if you're going to cut all the conductors from trains, have you really thought about female safety? Jeremy Corbyn's answer was to have women-only carriages, and we just thought we wouldn't be segregated any longer, just as a crazy, we thought we'd contribute completely in the whole of society. And it's also, I have a son as well as I have daughters, and I'm concerned about the boys in terms of equality. Did you know that 10% of men in this country take paternity leave? 10%. 90% do not take the leave that they're entitled to, and that is because they're afraid it'll impact adversely on them at work. And you know what? It will. It absolutely will. It has to be made compulsory. I think men should be entitled to enjoy those first marvellous moments with their child, just as any woman should. I am really concerned about boys falling behind in secondary schools, in their education. So it isn't just an equality party for women, it's for all of us, it's because I think society will be better off. But honestly, when people say, why did you call it the Women's Equality Party? I don't know what to say. I don't know, I thought we'd be clear what the plan was. And we're, as far as I know, the only political party in the world that hopes one day to no longer exist. I hope that's the case. I hope we get the job done and I can go home and tidy that understairs cupboard. Stuff to do. But did you see there was every week there's something. Did you see the report out about the phenomenal spike in mental health referrals for young women? Yeah. The issues with the London Fashion Week and those unbearably thin women who just, some of them just look like they would snap because we have a really unhealthy attitude to body size. So there's all sorts of things. And we're running a campaign at the moment called What Women Want. It's a repeat of a campaign that was done 20 years ago, 1996. I'm in university, I'm sure you can do 20 years from 2016. But anyway, 1996. And we've asked people to write in, and in 1996 it was on postcards, and women are writing in now. Do you know what? It's the same bloody stuff. It's still the same.
Do you know I was watching some coverage from Poland of the Polish TV debate about
the abortion?
There were 7 men on the panel, and there wasn't a single woman. Yeah. And I thought, there is something wrong with this panel. I can't quite put my finger on it.
No. But Brexit was much the same, I have to say. I think Brexit was a campaign conducted by well-spoken white men. It was an extraordinary thing to watch. And that's still the case. That is still the case if you look at all the stats on television. I'm thrilled and delighted. It comes out in 2 weeks' time. I'm the very first woman to host a major comedy panel show on television, and I'm hosting QI, which starts in 2 weeks' time. But it was lovely. Best job ever. Absolutely thrilled. Love it. But 2016. Television's been around for 80 years. And here's the thing. This is a trade secret about being a host on a quiz show. They tell you the answers beforehand. So you don't need to be that clever. And then just to back it up, they give it all to you on a card, which you're allowed to hold. And that card's not as heavy as the boys led me to believe. So it's not rocket science.
Well, I'd just like to point out that one of our questioners said, I saw you present QI Live at Kent in 2015. Did this play a role in you becoming the host of QI after Stephen left? And of course it was a seminal event.
Totally. They'd never thought of it before then.
No, at all.
Yeah, thank you.
But a lot of those shows either don't have women on them, or the women contribute less or seem to contribute less for one reason or another. Yeah. Why is that?
Well,
why is that in 2016?
I don't know. Well, there's various reasons. But I do know that's not true. I'm lying and being a woman and pretending I don't know. Absolutely know the answer to this. The first thing is that there are fewer female comedians around, and that is because the training ground to be a stand-up is a deeply and horribly unpleasant place. So it's quite often late at night in a very small, dingy club in front of very drunk people shouting, show us your tits. That is honestly where you have to train. And most women stand there and think, I could be at home. And they leave and go home because it's just awful. So the training ground for the kind of comedy, the kind of comedians that they use on those shows, the boys tend to last longer than the girls is the first thing, because it's unpleasant. And the second thing is that we just haven't had any female hosts. And I think that the answer is not to have, as was once suggested, a woman on every single panel, but to have more female hosts, because there's a different atmosphere. There's genuinely a different atmosphere when a woman is in charge. And if it was more normalised that a woman was the host, I think that more women would feel comfortable about being on the panels.
Is it, however, a bit daunting to take over that show because other women will be wanting you to succeed, men will be wanting you to succeed. It's a big, successful show. You know, was that tough or not?
It's a show that I admire and I love, but I haven't gone in to be a mini-me of anybody else. You know, I'm myself. I can't be anything but myself. So I've known Stephen Fry since I was 19. We were at university together. So I have probably a different attitude to him than, it's not somebody I've seen on the telly, it's somebody I know well. So I just went in thinking, wow, great, what fun. Mm-hmm. And I've loved it. The very first thing I did, the elves, who are so we call the elves the researchers on QI. I now call them Nissa, because that's the Danish elf. And the first thing I did was invite them all to Danish dinner at my house.
Where marzipan was served.
We had an awful lot of marzipan.
They must love you.
I threw in a little red cabbage on the side just to go crazy. So it's a wonderful family atmosphere on the show. And I have to say, I've laughed. They're all recorded now. We've already done them. I laughed more than I think I've ever laughed. Alan Davis is a genius. And there is a moment, which I don't know what goes out because I haven't seen the edits, but there was a moment in the recording, which I hope is broadcast, when he does an impersonation of a female trout faking an orgasm, which is... First of all, who knew trout did that? And they're like the Meg Ryans of the fish world. And it was a piece of comic genius. So we really had... It's perfect television. Because you come away with going, I didn't know that, and having laughed and laughed and laughed. And so it was, it was huge fun.
Maybe we can raise the lights a little bit, and let's get some questions from the audience.
But there are people.
There are you. Quite a scary lot. Well, let's go to a gentleman first. There's a man in the middle.
What a wild idea.
Oh, hello, Sandy.
Hi, what's your name?
Dave.
Hello, Dave. How's things?
Yeah, things are all right, thank you.
Yeah. Call me Dave. Yeah.
Short question, please. A few years ago, David Cameron was asked if he considered himself to be a feminist, and he struggled to answer that question.
Did he not understand it?
Probably not. But then the same question was asked to Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, and he had no problem saying, yes, of course I'm a feminist. And I'm a proud feminist, but do you think there are men or there are problems with the word feminism? Do you think people are scared to admit that?
Well, like it's a new F word. I think that I hear a lot of people say, I'm not a feminist, but, which is my least favourite sentence. And I always think if there's a but in the sentence, there must be a bit of a problem. But because there was some issue about the word, it's one of the reasons why I decided that we didn't need a feminist movement, we needed a political party. The only place in the world where men and women are absolutely equal is at the ballot box. At that moment, we're all equal. And I have to say, we have hundreds of wonderful, I was going to say male members, but that doesn't sound right. Not in my mouth, anyway. We have hundreds of wonderful men who are fantastically supportive. I would say probably the strongest feminist I know is my son, who's a wonderful 22-year-old young man. So I think it's something that we all need to fight together. We need to have a look and say, why is this happening? Why, if we fully engaged women in the workplace who want to be engaged in the workplace, it would be worth billions to our economy. It makes sense for everybody. One of the things that we know is in the STEM industry, so science, technology, engineering, mathematics, there's the most phenomenal glass ceiling. Loads and loads of stunning women are getting brilliant degrees in these areas and then not progressing at all. So what if the answer to global warming is in the head of a young female scientist who doesn't get on, or she's got the cure for cancer? It's for all of us that every child in this country has the opportunity to be the best that they can be and to contribute the most that they can contribute, and it isn't happening. You know, the Equal Pay Act, 1975, how is it possible that we still have a Gender Pay Act? Unite, one of the biggest unions, was it the report out this week, talking about mass sexism within the union. Really? You can't even depend on a union which should be looking after everybody, that you can't have a level playing field? So I in a way, I don't really care about whether we call ourselves feminists or not. I'm old and tired, I want to get the job done. That's what I think. And then people go, are you going to burn your bra? You think, yes, because bras are famously made of flammable material. That's why we women spark when we run. And it's boring. The truth is that that's a historical, it's one of those wonderful moments that people have kind of latched onto because they read about it in the papers. No woman has ever burnt a bra. No bras were burnt in 1968. A New York Times journalist made it up. And thank goodness journalism has improved since then. But you have these kind of old ideas that hang on, that maybe feminism isn't a nice word, that women are going to burn their bras. I don't care about that anymore. I care about every child in this country, that every single one of them can be the best that they can be. And at the moment, I don't see anybody getting on with it, so I had no choice, even though I hadn't got time, but wine was involved, to found a political party. So, are you a feminist? Good man. All right. Good fella.
Right. Some more. Lady over there.
Hi, what's your name?
Ella.
Ella?
Yeah.
Are you a student, Ella?
No, I'm only 16.
Oh, but that 16 is a fantastic age to be. What do you have a plan, Ella? What you would like? How you see yourself? What do you see yourself doing?
Well, my mum inspired me, so I want to study criminology, then become a lawyer.
Yay! Go, girl! Good for you.
At the age of 16, I would obviously identify myself as a feminist, and I feel very strongly about women's rights and not being oppressed. However, at my school, I will sit there in a classroom and hear sexist comments going on, and I sit there and look at my friends who are girls and say, we can't be listening to this, surely you're and they all sit there and go, well, what do you expect? How do you think we can inspire more young women and men to identify as feminists and really fight for what I think is right?
Yeah, it is a real problem, and bullying online as well, and trolling is a serious issue. Social media on the whole is not a very safe space for young women, and there are big issues about how the fashion industry treats young women, and it worries me enormously. The thing that I would like to see is sex and relationship education from the earliest years in school. So you're 16, but I would have liked to have seen boys and girls sitting down from a very early age and looking at how we relate to each other. It starts very early, and if the boys are being allowed to get away with it, then they'll think that that's acceptable behaviour. And actually what I think is if you challenged any one of them on their own, they probably would be embarrassed by some of the comments. There's a thing about boys getting overexcited in a group, a kind of pack mentality. If you have the courage, stand up to them and tell them, or take them aside one at a time and go, you understand that's hurtful, or that's not very nice. We have to stand up and we have to be bold. And I've stood up in my time. I'm a gay woman. When I first came out, which seems incredible now, it's 22 years ago, there wasn't a single out gay woman in British public life, okay? And I had death threats, and it was terrifying. But you have to stand up for what you believe in. And in the end, when I got married on stage to my wife in front of 2,500 people in the Royal Festival Hall. So it can be done, okay? And we can combat sexism, but we need you, Ella. We need you to stand up and say that will do, okay?
When Sandi was talking there, it reminded me of a friend of mine from Glasgow, Ruth Davidson, who's the leader of the Scottish Conservative Party, who said, being a Glaswegian, it was much easier to come out as lesbian than come out as a Conservative.
So true.
Yes, it was true. Yeah, any more?
Hello, good evening.
Hi, darling. What's your name?
My name's Freddie.
Hi.
I'm a second-year undergraduate here at Kent, actually. And my question is, as both of you are chancellors at universities, and most undergraduates will finish their degrees with £42,000 worth of debt. As there is this disparity in gender pay gap between men and women, more and more women are going to think, well, I don't have to pay it back if I earn less than £21,000 a year. So how is that aspiration of women going to be tackled with this such an enormous amount of debt they're going to leave university with?
I hadn't thought of, if I'm honest with you, I hadn't really thought of that, but you're right. There's nothing to encourage a woman to want to improve her income, is there, if she's got to pay off that enormous amount? I'd be honest, had you thought of that?
No,
I hadn't thought of it. I feel really shit now, but...
Sorry about that.
No. Wow, that's another burden I've got to take away with me. You're right. But when I went to university, I don't know about you, Gavin, but it was paid for by the state.
It was absolutely paid for by the state.
Yeah.
I mean, it was your taxes in action for our generation, basically. Yeah. And it does seem to me that you know, this is not setting one generation against another because grandmothers and grandfathers have grandchildren that they care about. But it is certainly true that our generation, it seems to me, have stolen the past from younger people.
Yes.
And they have got fewer opportunities. They're less likely to get a house. They're going to be saddled with debt. And basically, they're waiting for us to die, so inherit whatever we've managed to save. And it seems to me that that kind of opportunity culture that I grew up in, some of that has died. And there's also been a kind of denigration of public services. You know, I think most of us grew up in a world where there was a private sector which did create wealth, but the public sector creates wealth as well. There's nothing that creates wealth more than having streets which are safe to walk in and work in, and nothing creates wealth more than education. So we've kind of lost that part of the dialogue and that balance, it seems to me. And
no, I completely agree. When I do the graduations at Portsmouth, the first thing I do is apologise to the young people on behalf of the older generation, because I think what we have landed them with is a tremendous disservice. I genuinely believe all education ought to be free. We're seeing a huge loss in mature students as well applying now. I don't know if that's true here, but it's certainly true in Portsmouth. We're seeing people just not applying. The mature students, I think, how great if you want to restudy when you're 60, 70, whatever you want, it's great. But it's unfortunately, people are now looking at the money involved and thinking, well, I won't.
And it's tough. It's tough.
It's
I
really
met one
tough.
of our mature students recently who works 3 days a week doing a job and 4 days a week here at the university, and he's just started. And I wish him well, because I think that's really tough.
Yeah, but how inspirational.
It is inspirational.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Now, there was a lady there. Yes.
What is your name?
It's Anne.
Hello, Anne. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you.
Good.
I'd like to ask your views on single-sex education, because in my opinion, it doesn't make for a melded society. I think that it's important for boys and girls, young men and young women, to be educated in school. But I'd like to know your views.
I completely agree with you, Anne.
Thank you.
I think it's very important that, we talked to Ella talking about the sexist comments and so on. How can boys and girls learn to relate to each other if we separate them in the educational process? But equally, I don't believe in selective education either, I'm afraid. I'm an egalitarian as far as education is concerned, and I think we should all mix in together, and you should learn to all be different backgrounds and different sexes. We should all try and understand each other. And again, if you separate out early on, most of the research, actually a lot of research done here in Kent, indicates that the ones who go to grammar schools, for example, do very well, but the ones who don't get selected do worse and worse, and that won't do for me. I'm all for making sure, no matter what your background is, you can reach as high as you like. But we'll only make a proper equality in this country if we get the boys and girls from as early on to sit down and examine how they relate to each other, and that we don't do name calling and we don't play kiss chase and all those things that the girls find distressing. It's not too soon to start at 5, but we need properly trained sex and relationship teachers, because at the moment you don't have to be qualified, and it's usually the teacher who was last into the staff meeting who gets, oh, guess what you get to do today, And it's too important a thing. So, but you're absolutely right. I think we should have mixed education. Yeah.
Some more thoughts. There's somebody up there, and there's anybody on this side. We've been neglecting you, or yes,
we don't have to just talk politics. I have a great soup recipe, and talk about other things.
Hello.
Hi. What's your name?
My name is Sarah.
Hi,
and
Sarah.
I'm a founder member of the Women's Equality Party,
Go, Sarah. Go.
which I am very disappointed in,
Oh my darling.
Oh.
Why is that?
because all I have seen is emails coming and asking me for money.
Wow. You don't get my emails then.
A lot of the information, I think, has been promulgated through Facebook, Twitter, things like that. But
Are you on the
in
mailing
Kent.
list? Seriously, are you on the mailing list?
Yes, absolutely.
Because emails go out about a phenomenal range of subjects.
Yes, I got one telling me that there would be a conference.
Yes.
And I looked through it and I read it and I said, well, I sent an email back saying, Actually, having read this, I can find out that it's in Manchester, but you haven't told me where it is exactly in Manchester and what dates.
Okay, it's all on the website. It's all available on the website.
Yes.
So the email merely directs you to the website where all the information is available. We don't want to put too much stuff in an email. And can I just say to you about the money thing? One of the problems about politics in this country is the phenomenal cost, which I simply did not know about. Just to stand as London Mayor, okay, just to stand, not to have leaflets, not to campaign in any way, just to put your hat in the ring costs £20,000, okay? We have no major donors. We are entirely funded by our membership, who are either paying £4 a month or £2.50 if they're unwaged. All of those members have to fund our ability to stand and to put deposits down. I'm afraid, and it is a fact, and you will find that whatever political party you belong to, money becomes critical. You have to have... people wrote to us when we first started and said, like to come and see party headquarters. You thought, we'd like to have a party headquarters, that'd be nice. It is prohibitively expensive to run a political party in this country. It is something that absolutely needs addressing. And I would be very surprised if any political party wasn't at some point saying, if you have some spare money, please do that. But I guarantee you that we send out emails on a phenomenal range of subjects. So one of the things that we particularly have been looking for is, what is it that you want us to discuss at our very first party conference, which is expensive because we have to have a room like this, we have to have lighting, and we have to have microphones and so on. What are the things that you want us to discuss? If you can't come and you can't afford to come to Manchester, we've tried to have it somewhere in the centre of the country so it's as cheap for as many people to come. We have branches in Scotland, we have branches in Wales and so on. We've tried to be as economic as we can for our membership, okay? If you can't come, please will you tell us what you'd like us to talk about? It's really hard to know any other way to reach out, okay? I'm sorry if you feel it's about money. I can't tell you how many times I personally just signed a cheque because it was quicker for the party to just make sure that we got stuff done. If you feel it is expensive, please look at the other parties and know that we are giving you value for money. And please direct yourself to the website, but all the information you've just asked me about is freely available.
Hello. No wish to... Oh, sorry.
What's your name?
Tessa.
Hi.
Hi. No wish to quarrel with the last person at all, but I'm also a founder member of WE. I get millions of emails from you. I'm not on Facebook. I'm not on Twitter. I've learned a fantastic amount. I feel very included. I've been asked for my opinion. I've seen all the range of policies and everything. And I think maybe just somebody's missing some emails or something, because I'm fully informed and I'm coming to conference and I'm really looking forward to it.
Good. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
There's a gentleman there and a lady there.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, darling. What's your name?
I'm Terry.
Hi, Terry.
What are Danish Christmases like?
Oh, fantastic. It's that, Terry. It's we have a Danish word, hygge, and it doesn't translate. And hygge means to spend a warm, cozy time with the people that you love. That's what it means. So a hug is as close as I can show you what Christmas feels like. But it's celebrated on Christmas Eve. We still in our family, it's black tie. We dress up. We have real candles on the tree, which is just not only, I know, it's beautiful and also hilarious watching my mother stand by the fire extinguisher. We have special candle holders so we have beautiful live candles on the tree, and we have a special dinner every night. We have each Christmas night. We do roast duck with red cabbage and something called caramelized potatoes, which are disgracefully fattening. You feel your arteries clogging as you're eating, and they're delicious. So we have dinner in the evening when it's dark, and then the oldest children will go in and light the tree, and then we all go in and we all hold hands and we sing together old Danish Christmas songs, and then the presents are handed out one at a time. And by the time they're all handed out, the adults are all drunk as skunks. And it's a really special and wonderful evening. It takes me a whole week every year to prepare. And every year I say to the kids, come on guys, the Bahamas. This year, the Bahamas, somewhere. Let's not... And my children are all grown up, and I thought they would all leave, and now they bring their bloody partners. So... But what I like about it is that it has a hint of formality about it, and we make speeches, and it's a really special time. And we have a marzipan pig. There's a pudding. There's a pudding. We have rice pudding with almonds in it, and there's only one whole almond, and whoever gets the whole almond wins the marzipan pig. And whoever's newest to the family is given the task of making the marzipan pig, and we always say it's very good every year. Just good luck with that.
There was a lady there. I think it was a gentleman. I can't see. Yes, a gentleman there.
Hello, Sandy.
Hi, darling. What's your name?
My name's Alex.
Hello.
The media in this country always prioritises personality ahead of policies, and that makes it very difficult for political movements because they need excellent orators who have a great sense of humour, who find it easy to engage with an audience. So I suppose what I'm saying is, will you stand for Parliament? Because I'd vote for you.
I won't ever go into politics. I think I'd be rubbish. I don't know if I could do it well enough. Maybe you're very sweet. So is that what's it Groucho Marx said? I wouldn't want to join any club that would have me as a member. I think there's so much wrong with the system that hopefully I can highlight by going around and talking, and even criticism. It's good to air those things. I think it's really important, and fortunately I'm able to draw an audience, and so maybe I can talk a little bit about why I think these things are necessary. I'm saddened by the political system. I think it was, bless you, somebody with TB in the audience. It's a very strange thing that, for example, that Boris Johnson spent all his time when he was talking about leaving saying how much he disliked unelected representatives. And he was quite often saying it in front of the House of Parliament, where there's about 800 members of the House of Lords who he doesn't seem to have drawn his attention to whatsoever. So there's a very strange lot of double-speak goes on in politics. So I think I'll stick to rabble-rousing.
I once asked the same question of Dolly Parton, and she said to me, "Honey, there have been enough boobs in the White House without mine."
She is seriously talented.
She's a very smart woman.
Have you seen her in concert?
Yeah, she's amazing.
She plays about 17 instruments,
incredible.
and is funny and brilliant. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. See, she should run for president.
Dolly Parton. Yeah,
Dolly Parton for president. Lady up there.
I'd definitely vote for her.
Hello.
Hi, what's your name?
Maisie.
Hello, darling.
I had a question for you on drama, actually.
Great.
I am a graduate here.
Oh, wonderful.
And I was in drama and multimedia. That was my joint honours. And I wondered what you felt about how people view drama and the arts, because you've sort of built your career on skills that are taught to us here at Kent, yet here we've had, MA programmes cut and things like that. And I just wondered if you thought maybe how your views were about the view that drama isn't a sort of worthwhile subject. Yeah, I know that I learnt so much from my degree just from doing a degree. Do you know what I mean?
I'd be sad if people thought that. I think there's an issue that so many courses now are, because people are having to pay for them, there's a notion that you must immediately do a course that takes you straight into the career that's going to give you a career ladder and you're going to progress on. And that's never going to happen in the performing arts or in the field of drama whatsoever. But it's so important. It's so vital. So whenever I have the time, I wrote a play in 2012, which opened in London's newest theatre, St James, called Bully Boy, which was about post-traumatic stress in our serving veterans. I have a new play which is opening in January called Silver Linings, which was written because there's so little theatre written for older actresses. And our oldest actress, we've just finished casting the older part. There's 5 older women in it. Our oldest actress in it is 82. And that is because I have something to say about how we treat old women in particular. That we look at them and forget that they had wonderful full lives, and maybe they even had sex once, and it's a sort of slightly frightening thought. And so it's a play, it's a comedy, hopefully. You can never tell till people laugh, but because sometimes when you have something that's really important that you want to say, the best place to say it is on a stage. The best place to say it is through the medium of drama. So don't you listen to anybody else. And I'm saddened if we start to lose the creative arts and we start cutting courses in the creative arts, because that's what feeds the soul of everybody. We all need it. And it's only through people studying drama and coming up through theatre that we then get great telly and we get great film, because that's where you start. You didn't start in telly. You start, in a small black box, just 2 of you doing a play, and then eventually there's 4 of you, and then 6 of you, and so it grows like that. I think theatre still has something hugely important for us to say and to do in this country. I was last night, first night of Lisa Dwan doing a new Beckett piece at the Old Vic, and mostly I sit there, I think I have no bloody idea what's going on in Beckett. Nobody ever says that because it's Emperor's New Clothes, but it was so thrilling to have that live experience, to be in the presence of a consummate performer, to feel the atmosphere of being in a live thing. It is wonderful, isn't it, to be gathered in a live audience? It's a really wonderful feeling. It's so much better than watching some, Celebrity Island on your own, or whatever the hell it is that people sit by themselves and watch. So I'm passionate about it. So good for you. I don't know, what do you want to do, darling? You want to perform or write or what? Great. Yeah. Okay, then write the story you have to tell. Write the story. Each and every one of us in this room has stories that are unique to us. You have unique stories. You have a unique voice. Find it. Write the thing. To me, write the thing that makes you mad. Okay, make the thing that makes you mad, and then somebody in the audience will be knocked back and say, "Wow." So my play, Bully Boy, the greatest moment for me. Anthony Andrews was in it. It was the star. And a woman came up to me after the play. And she said, I have lots of returning veterans. It was about 2 returning veterans who come and see me in my practice. And now that I've seen your play, the next time somebody comes in, I'm going to ask them different questions. And I thought, wow, if I just did that, one doctor, that's fine.
Got time for a couple more. There's somebody right in the middle.
I tell you what, this gin's good.
Hi.
Where are you? I can't see you. Hello, darling. What's your name?
I'm Beth.
Hello.
I just wanted to ask, I'm currently in year 13, and I'm not going to university next year. Or
Okay.
The year after, not going at all. So I just wondered if I'm planning on doing a career in journalism or media and publishing. And I wondered if you had any advice on entries into that career for, a woman.
Is there a reason why you're not going to go to university?
Partially cost and
Right.
minimising the amount of debt. But also it's just not really my thing, I don't think. I'd rather go straight in and get some experience straight away.
Okay, so here's my the advice that I gave my children, okay? This is me being very boring maternal. I don't think you go to university to learn how to be a journalist. I think you go to university to learn how to be a grown-up. So I think it's really a wonderful time in your education where you get to socialize with people that maybe you might never have met before who are doing really extraordinary subjects. So my first thing is that I would recommend that you go to university, whatever the cost. I think it is easy for me to say that because I've been through it, but you're probably at a stage in your education where you think, I don't want any more, I've had enough. But university is a totally different experience, okay? It's not people telling you what to do. It's you deciding your own program. It's you deciding, I am going to commit to this. My children, 2 out of 3, did not want to go to university. They all went, and they all grew into wonderful and amazing human beings. They blossomed while they were at university. So it may be you're looking at it as an extension of school. It isn't. It's a chance to be the best that you can be. I'm really sorry that you will have debt. That I am sorry about. But I recommend it. From my heart, I hope Gavin would agree with me. I recommend that you go to university.
I'm afraid I would too. It's horrible to think of the debt burden. But I do think, and particularly the career that you're choosing, is very much having a degree that people enjoy doing is kind of almost an entry-level qualification for many people. It's very, very difficult to get in at the age of 18. I started in a newspaper called the Belfast Telegraph in Northern Ireland during the Troubles, and a lot of the old reporters had gone in straight from school, but they were all graduate recruitment from the time that I started. So it is difficult. It's not impossible, but it is difficult. I know somebody who is taking jobs as a runner in television, doing just about anything, and it's kind of managing to get a foot in the door without having gone to university, although she's definitely talented enough to do so. And I've said to her, I think you should go and you would benefit from it. She's exactly the same position as you in terms of thinking about the debt. But I would recommend it if you can see a way to do it. And it's also fun.
It's fun. Seriously, there's a lot of drinking. It's good.
We've only got a couple of minutes left. Just one thought, just to return to women in politics and so on. I was really struck. I think you're, sparing your blushes, one of the most talented women in Britain today.
Shucks.
I do. And I do. And you just said you weren't sure that you could do politics and so on. I mean, is there something about the way in which women are held to a different standard in public life in general and politics in particular? This is something that came from a conversation with a woman in politics from another country who was at the top of her game. And she said, I visited the Queen in London, and the only thing the press in my country could talk about was what my suit looked like and my shoes. Yeah. And we've seen it with Theresa May this week. It's the bloody shoes again. Yeah. Nobody... Do you remember the last photo feature on David Cameron's shoes?
It was good.
It was great,
really
wasn't
good.
it? But obviously there's a serious point there, isn't there? That women are regarded differently in the media and women in top of political life. I mean, Angela Merkel has done brilliantly by just basically buying the same suit in different colours, so she always looks the same.
Yeah.
That's one of the ways she handles it.
Yeah, it is a serious issue because actually I want to hear what they have to say. I'm not really interested in what they're wearing. It's true for all women in public life, I think. You're held to a different standard. And I don't think... I've been in public life for so long, 35 years now. I've been, when I was 23, I had my very first television series. So I've been doing this a really long time. It's not the fact of being in the public eye that would worry me in terms of doing politics. It's that I have so many other things that I want to do. It is the plays, it is the books, it is the many ways in which I want to communicate. I feel like there's never going to be enough time. I think life is so... I'm such a Pollyanna. I think life is so bloody marvellous. And there's so much music I haven't heard and so many books I haven't read, so many books I haven't written, so many things, so many opportunities that are out there. I find it slightly mesmerising, and the idea that I would focus down on just one thing, I think it would be too cramping for me. And what's weird is I don't think if I was a bloke and I was saying those things, anybody would be the least bit surprised. It's fine for a bloke to be a polymath or be interested in a million different things. But I just find life phenomenally exciting. In fact, to the point where there's a new rule at home. My wonderful wife, Debbie, has banned me. I'm not allowed to have a new idea until we've had a cup of tea in the morning.
That's absolutely brilliant. That's a wonderful, it's a wonderful way to end for very inspirational, infectiously inspirational, I should say. Thank you very much, Sandi Toksvig.
Thank you very much.
And just a final word of thank you to everybody in the audience, because we did a series of these last year. We've moved to our new location. It's a lovely, lovely location. And we're also using your money and your contributions for the Kent Opportunity Fund. And I know we've collected at least £1,400 thanks to your generosity. And there may be buckets on the way out, so if you've got any more loose change, please give generously. We'll make sure it's spent in a good way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, darling.
That was lovely. Yeah, that was good fun, wasn't it?